The Adventure of the Young Explorer. In a small village nestled along the edge of a great sea, there was a young boy named Alex who often found himself lost in dreams of distant lands. While his friends played by the shore or helped with daily chores, Alex's heart yearned for something more. His days were spent with his nose buried in books about explorers, pirates, and lands beyond the horizon. He would often sit on the highest point of the cliff, watching the endless waves roll in, wondering what lay beyond the distant horizon. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking along the beach, something caught Alex's eye. Buried in the sand, half hidden by seaweed and shells, was a piece of paper. At first, it seemed like a mere scrap, a forgotten piece of litter carried by the tide. But as Alex carefully brushed away the sand, he realized it was no ordinary piece of paper. It was an old, weathered map. The ink had faded with time, and the edges were torn and ragged, but it was unmistakably a map. His heart raced with excitement as he noticed a small island depicted on the map, and there, marked with a large X, was a spot labeled Treasure. Alex stared at the map in disbelief. Was this real? Could there truly be treasure hidden somewhere far from the village? The thought filled him with a thrilling sense of adventure, and he knew, deep in his heart, that he had to find it. The quiet village, with its familiar shores and routines, suddenly felt like a distant memory. All he could think about was what lay ahead, what mysteries and challenges awaited him on the island. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. The map was spread out before him on his small wooden desk, its edges curling under the faint light of the candle. He studied every line, every mark. It seemed to indicate a journey that would take him far from the village, across unfamiliar lands, perhaps even through forests or across turbulent waters. But he was ready. He had always known, in some deep corner of his heart, that he was meant for more than the peaceful life of the village. The adventure he had always dreamed of was waiting for him. At dawn, Alex packed a small bag with essentials: a compass, a flashlight, a few snacks, and some of his favorite books, in case he needed rest along the way. He took one last look at his home, the small cottage nestled at the edge of the village, and set off toward the distant island marked on the map. His footsteps echoed through the quiet streets as he left behind the familiar sights and sounds of the village. The journey was long and difficult. Alex crossed thick forests, where the trees stood tall and silent, their shadows stretching across the path. He climbed steep hills that tested his strength and navigated rocky shorelines where the sea crashed against jagged cliffs. There were moments when exhaustion weighed heavily on his shoulders, and doubt crept into his mind. But Alex pressed on, driven by the thought of what awaited him at the end of the journey. Each obstacle he overcame made him stronger, more determined to find the treasure. After days of traveling, Alex finally reached the island depicted on the map. The landscape was rugged and wild, with cliffs that towered above him and dense vegetation that seemed to hold secrets of its own. Alex carefully studied the map once more, looking for landmarks that might match what he saw before him. The X on the map marked a spot near the center of the island, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The island was eerily silent, and he felt as though he were being watched by unseen eyes. Still, he pressed forward, guided by the hope of the treasure that lay ahead. Hours passed as he navigated through thick underbrush, his legs aching and his stomach growling. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the land. Just as he was starting to wonder if he should turn back, Alex stumbled upon a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was an ancient stone structure, covered in vines and moss. The stones were worn with age, but the shape of the structure was unmistakable: an old ruin, perhaps a temple or a forgotten monument. The X on the map pointed directly to this spot. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, Alex approached the ruins. His heart pounded in his chest as he examined the stones closely. He noticed that one stone, larger than the rest, seemed to shift slightly when he touched it. It was heavy, but after several attempts, Alex managed to move it aside, revealing a small wooden chest hidden beneath the stone. His breath caught in his throat as he lifted the chest, the weight of it both thrilling and overwhelming. Opening the chest, Alex found not gold or jewels, but something far more precious: an old, weathered journal. The journal was filled with the stories of past explorers, their adventures written in careful handwriting. Alex understood, then, that the true treasure was not material wealth, but the knowledge and experiences of those who had come before him. The journey itself had been the greatest treasure of all. As the sun set behind him, casting a warm golden glow over the island, Alex realized that he had found what he had been seeking all along, not a chest full of riches, but an adventure that would stay with him forever. The journey had transformed him, giving him a deeper understanding of the world and his place in it. He closed the journal and looked out at the horizon, knowing that this was only the beginning of many more adventures to come. With the journal in hand, Alex made his way back to the village, a little older, a little wiser, and with a heart full of stories yet to be told.